Captain Jake Morrison sat in the cold metal chair and watched the alien beings argue about his people. The visitors section of the Galactic Council chamber was quiet, but down below on the main floor, dozens of strange creatures were making loud noises at each other. Some looked like walking crystals that sparkled under the bright lights. Others had too many arms and eyes that moved in ways that made Jake feel sick. The worst ones looked like giant bugs that clicked their teeth together when they talked. Jake had been coming to these meetings for 3 years now, and he still did not like being around so many aliens. Next to him, Ambassador Lisa Grant fixed her blue uniform and tried to look calm. Jake could see her hands shake just a little bit. She had worked so hard to get humanity accepted into this council. For 3 long years, she had given speeches and shown videos of Earth and human cities. She had talked about human art and music and science. But the aliens never seemed to care. The tall crystal being at the front of the room was called High Chancellor Vextar. His people, the Zephyrians, had been running the galaxy for thousands of years. When he spoke, his voice sounded like glass breaking. "The humans are too young," he said. "They have only been in space for a few hundred years. We have been traveling between stars since before their planet had cities." The bug creatures made clicking sounds that Jake knew meant they agreed. The Clickstar were always mean to younger species. They thought that only old races deserved respect. Their speaker waved forearms in the air and said, "Humans have only a few planets. They have no real technology. They cannot even talk to each other across space without using our relay stations." Jake wanted to stand up and tell them they were wrong, but that was not his job. He was just here to watch and listen. Ambassador Grant was the one who had to speak for humanity. Other aliens joined in the conversation. The Void Singers were floating purple clouds that made music when they talked. Their song today was sad and dismissive. They sang about how humans had no special gifts, no amazing powers like other species. The gas beings from the nebula worlds agreed, sending colored lights across the room that spelled out rude words about human intelligence. Ambassador Grant finally stood up when High Chancellor Vextar called her name. She walked down to the speaking platform with her back straight and her head high. Jake felt proud watching her even though he knew this would not end well. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, "humanity comes before you today not as beggars but as partners. We have much to offer the galactic community." High Chancellor Vextar made a sound like breaking ice. "What can you offer? You have no advanced weapons. Your ships are slow and simple. Your technology is basic compared to ours. You have been in space for such a short time that you barely understand how the galaxy works." Ambassador Grant kept her voice steady. "We offer new ideas. Human creativity and problem-solving abilities are different from other species. We approach challenges in ways that might surprise you." The Clickstar speaker clicked loudly. "Surprise us? You cannot even defend your own trade routes without asking for our help. Your colonies are so weak that space pirates attack them regularly. What kind of partners would you be if you cannot protect yourselves?" Jake felt his face get hot with anger. It was true that human colonies sometimes had trouble with raiders, but that was because Earth's government told them to be peaceful. The military had other ships, better ships, but the aliens did not know about those. In the corner of the room, a man in a dark uniform watched everything quietly. Colonel Sam Parker had been attending these meetings for 6 months, always sitting in the same spot, never saying anything. The aliens probably thought he was just another human diplomat. They did not know that his eyes were not normal human eyes anymore. They had been replaced with mechanical ones that could record everything he saw and heard. His brain had been connected to computers that let him think faster and remember more than any normal person. Colonel Parker was not here to be diplomatic. He was here to study the aliens, to learn their weaknesses, to find out how they really thought about humanity. Every insult, every dismissive gesture, every arrogant comment was being recorded and sent back to Earth through secret channels that the aliens knew nothing about. The debate continued for 2 more hours. One by one, the alien representatives explained why humans were not ready to join the council. The Aquarians, who looked like walking fish, said humans were too violent. The Silicon Lords, living metal beings, said human technology was too primitive. Even the friendly botanical collective, which were intelligent plants, shook their flower heads sadly and said humans needed more time to grow up. Ambassador Grant answered each criticism with facts and examples, but Jake could see she was fighting a losing battle. The aliens had made up their minds before the meeting even started. They saw humans as children playing with toys, not as equals who deserved respect. Finally, High Chancellor Vextar called for the vote. All in favor of granting humanity full membership in the Galactic Council? His crystal voice echoed through the chamber. Not a single alien raised a hand or tentacle or wing. All opposed? Every alien in the room showed their rejection. Some raised appendages, others flashed lights, and the musical species sang their disagreement in harmony. The motion fails unanimously, High Chancellor Vextar announced. Humanity's application for membership is denied. You may reapply in 50 standard years. 50 years. Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. In 50 years, he would be dead. Ambassador Grant would be dead. Earth might be completely different by then. Ambassador Grant bowed politely to the council. Thank you for your consideration. Humanity appreciates the time you have given to our application. Her voice was steady, but Jake saw her hands trembling. Again. As they walked out of the chamber, Jake wanted to say something comforting, but the words would not come. 3 years of work, 3 years of hope, and it had all been for nothing. Colonel Parker followed them out, still quiet, still watching. As they reached the corridor outside the chamber, Jake felt his personal communicator vibrate. He looked down at the small device and saw a message that made his heart race. The message was short and coded, but Jake understood it perfectly. It came from Earth Command, from the highest levels of the human military. It said, Phase 2 is authorized. Proceed with Revelation Protocol. Jake looked at Ambassador Grant, who was reading the same message on her own device. Her face had changed. The sadness was still there, but now it was mixed with something else, something that looked almost like a smile. Colonel Parker stepped closer to them and spoke for the first time all day. His voice was quiet, but Jake heard every word clearly. They think they know us, he said. They think they understand what humanity is capable of. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. For 3 years, humanity had been playing nice, trying to fit in, trying to be accepted. But Earth had been preparing for this moment. The rejection was not unexpected. In fact, it might have been exactly what Earth's leaders had been hoping for. As they walked toward their ship, Jake wondered what Phase 2 would bring. He wondered what the Revelation Protocol really meant. Most of all, he wondered what the galaxy would think of humanity when they finally saw what humans could really do. The Galactic Council had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs. Behind them, the aliens continued their meetings, discussing trade routes and border disputes. They had already forgotten about the humans and their failed application. They had no idea that everything was about to change. The game was just beginning. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council rejected humanity's membership application. Captain Jake Morrison was back on Earth, sitting in a meeting room deep underground. The walls were thick concrete and steel, built to keep secrets safe from prying eyes and alien sensors. Around the long table sat the most important people in human government and military. President Helen Brooks looked tired but determined. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her eyes held the weight of difficult decisions. Next to her, General Kevin Walsh studied reports on his tablet computer. His uniform was covered with medals earned in conflicts that most humans never heard about. At the far end of the table, Dr. Angela Torres adjusted her glasses and prepared to show everyone why they were really here. She was the head of Earth's Advanced Research Division, a group that worked on projects so secret that even most government officials did not know they existed. The situation in the Kepler system is getting worse, General Walsh said, his voice grim. The hegemony forces have completely surrounded the Aquarian colony world. Those poor fish people are trapped with no way to escape. President Brooks nodded slowly. What is the Galactic Council doing about it? Nothing useful, Jake replied. They have been debating for 3 weeks now. The Zephyrians want to form a committee to study the problem. The Clickstar say it is not their concern because the Aquarians are not council members. The Void Singers just make sad music about it. The Hegemony was a group of warlike reptile species led by the Sauron Empire. Their ships were huge and covered with weapons. They had been slowly taking over smaller civilizations for years, and the Galactic Council always found excuses not to stop them. Dr. Torres stood up and pressed a button on her remote control. The lights dimmed, and holographic images appeared in the air above the table. Jake gasped when he saw what she was showing them. The first image was a spaceship, but not like any ship Jake had ever seen before. It was sleek and angular, with surfaces that seemed to bend light around them. Strange energy patterns flowed along its hull like living electricity. "This is the HMS Washington," Dr. Torres said calmly. "She was completed last month at the hidden shipyard on the far side of the moon. Her weapon systems are based on technology that no alien species has ever imagined." More images appeared. Ships of different sizes and shapes, all with the same impossible design. Some were small and fast, others were massive and intimidating. All of them looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie, not in real life. General Walsh leaned forward. "How many ships do we have?" "The Pacific Fleet consists of 47 vessels of various classes," Dr. Torres replied. "All equipped with quantum displacement drives, adaptive defense systems, and weapons that manipulate fundamental forces of physics." Jake felt confused. "I thought our space navy only had 12 ships. Basic exploration and defense vessels." President Brooks smiled for the first time in the meeting. "That is what we wanted everyone to think, including most of our own people." Dr. Torres continued her presentation. The next image showed a star map with red dots scattered across it. There were hundreds of dots, maybe thousands, spread throughout known space. "For the past 30 years, we have been secretly placing monitoring stations and supply depots throughout the galaxy," she explained. "While other species saw us as newcomers barely capable of leaving our solar system, our scout ships were mapping every trade route, every military base, every weakness in their defenses." Another hologram appeared, showing technical diagrams that made Jake's head hurt just looking at them. Lines and equations covered the air describing technologies that seemed impossible. The aliens focused on copying and improving existing technologies, Dr. Torres said. They never developed truly new approaches to physics and engineering. We took a different path. Instead of building bigger plasma cannons, we learned to manipulate gravity itself. Instead of stronger armor, we developed shields that exist in multiple dimensions at once. General Walsh pointed to one of the diagrams. "Explain the communication system." "Quantum entanglement networks," Dr. Torres replied. "We can send messages instantly across any distance. While the aliens still use relay stations and slow data streams, our ships can coordinate perfectly in real time." Jake thought about all the times aliens had mocked humanity for being backward and primitive. If only they knew what humans had really been building while they were not paying attention. The meeting was interrupted when an aide rushed into the room carrying an urgent message. President Brooks read it quickly, and her face grew dark with anger. "The Hegemony just destroyed an Aquarian refugee ship trying to escape the blockade," she announced. 3,000 civilians, including children, are dead." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The reptile species were not just conquering territory anymore. They were committing genocide. "What is the Council's response?" General Walsh asked. High Chancellor Vextar called for a moment of silence. "President," Brooks said bitterly. Then they scheduled another debate for next week. Jake felt sick. While the aliens argued about procedures and jurisdictions, innocent people were dying. The Aquarians were peaceful beings who had never hurt anyone. They grew beautiful underwater cities and created art that made people cry with joy. Now they were being murdered by creatures who saw weakness as an invitation to attack. Dr. Torres put away her remote control and looked directly at the president. "Ma'am, our ships are ready. Admiral Kate Sullivan has been waiting for orders for 2 months. The Pacific Fleet can reach the Kepler system in 4 days." President Brooks stood up and walked to the window that showed the night sky above Washington, D.C. Even through the thick glass and concrete, she could see stars twinkling. In the darkness, Somewhere up there, people were suffering while politicians made speeches. The aliens rejected us because they thought we were weak, she said quietly. They treated us like children who did not understand how the galaxy works. Maybe it is time to show them what human children can do when they grow up angry. She turned back to face the room. General Walsh, you are authorized to deploy the Pacific Fleet to the Kepler system. Admiral Sullivan has full command authority and permission to use any necessary force to protect the Aquarian civilians. General Walsh nodded grimly. What about revealing our capabilities? Once we show these technologies, there will be no going back. The whole galaxy will know we have been hiding our true strength. Good, President Brooks replied. I am tired of pretending to be weak. I am tired of watching evil triumph while good people debate. The Galactic Council had their chance to lead. Now humanity will show them how it should be done. Jake felt a chill of excitement mixed with fear. Everything was about to change. For decades, humanity had played the role of grateful students learning from their alien teachers. Soon the teachers would discover that their students had surpassed them long ago. Dr. Torres gathered her materials and prepared to leave. I should mention one more thing, she said. Captain Rick Davis returned from his reconnaissance mission this morning. The hegemony has acquired antimatter weapons from black market dealers. They plan to test them on the Aquarian homeworld. The room erupted in angry voices. Antimatter weapons could destroy entire planets. If the reptiles were willing to use such terrible weapons on civilians, they would not hesitate to use them on anyone who opposed them. President Brooks raised her hand for silence. Then we had better stop them before they get the chance. How long until our fleet reaches Kepler? 76 hours, General Walsh replied. Too long. Can we go faster? Doctor? Torres smiled mysteriously. Actually, yes. Our quantum displacement drives have capabilities that I have not mentioned yet. If Admiral Sullivan pushes the engines to maximum, she can be there in 18 hours. Jake stared at her in amazement. 18 hours to cross hundreds of light years? That was impossible according to everything he knew about physics. The hegemony will not expect us, Dr. Torres continued. Their sensors cannot detect our ships when we are using stealth mode. We will appear in their midst like ghosts, and they will learn why it was a mistake to underestimate humanity. President Brooks made her final decision. Send the orders. Authorization code Prometheus Rising. It is time for humanity to take its rightful place in this galaxy. As the meeting ended and everyone prepared to leave, Jake felt history changing around him. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human power was about to begin. In a few hours, the aliens would discover that the species they had dismissed as children was actually their worst nightmare come to life. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the HMS Washington and watched the stars change outside her windows. The ship was moving faster than light, but not in the way other alien species traveled. While they punched holes through space or rode energy waves, the Washington simply stepped between dimensions, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at stations that looked nothing like the control panels on older human ships. Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez sat at the communications station, her hands dancing over controls that could reach across the galaxy in seconds. Commander Ben Jackson monitored tactical displays that showed every ship and weapon in the Kepler system, even though they were still hours away. How long until we reach the target zone? Admiral Sullivan asked. 16 hours and 23 minutes, replied the navigator. The hegemony forces still have no idea we are coming. Admiral Sullivan nodded. The reptile fleet around the Aquarian homeworld thought they were safe. Their sensors could not detect human ships using quantum stealth technology. To them, the space around Kepler 442b was empty, except for their own vessels and the trapped civilians below. Dr. Laura Stevens, the fleet's science advisor, looked up from her research station. Admiral, I am picking up more hegemony communications. They are planning to test their new antimatter weapons on the refugee camps tomorrow. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Thousands of Aquarian families were hiding in temporary shelters on the planet's surface, hoping someone would come to save them. The reptiles wanted to see how much damage their new bombs could do before using them on bigger targets. "Any word from the Galactic Council?" Admiral Sullivan asked. Maria shook her head. High Chancellor Vextar issued another statement calling for peaceful negotiations. The Clickstar representative said the situation requires more study. The Void Singers are composing a sad song about the tragedy. Admiral Sullivan felt anger rise in her chest. While the aliens made speeches and wrote poetry, real people were about to die. She had spent 20 years in the human space navy, first on the old exploration ships that everyone knew about, then on secret missions that officially never happened. She had seen enough of alien politics to know that they would never act when action was needed. "Commander Jackson, show me the enemy positions," she ordered. The main display screen filled with a three-dimensional map of the Kepler system. Red dots showed hegemony warships surrounding the blue-green world where the Aquarians lived. There were 43 enemy vessels, including 6 massive dreadnoughts that carried enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. "Their formation is strong," Commander Jackson observed. "They have overlapping fields of fire and multiple fallback positions. Any conventional attack would face terrible losses." "Good thing we are not conventional," Admiral Sullivan replied, with a cold smile. She opened a communication channel to the rest of the human fleet. On smaller screens around the bridge, the faces of other ship captains appeared. Captain Eric Thompson commanded the destroyer Independence. Captain Nancy Wilson led the cruiser Liberty. Captain Peter Adams controlled the stealth frigate Shadow. All of them were veterans who had trained for this moment their entire careers. "Captains, we will arrive at Kepler in 15 hours, Admiral Sullivan announced. "The enemy expects nothing, which gives us complete tactical surprise. However, I want everyone to understand what we are about to do. When we reveal ourselves, the entire galaxy will know that humanity has capabilities far beyond what they imagined. There will be no going back." Captain Thompson spoke first. "Admiral, my crew is ready. We have been preparing for this day since we launched." The other captains voiced their agreement. These were not the crews of exploration vessels or diplomatic ships. These were warriors who had been specially selected and trained to handle technologies that most humans could not even imagine. Dr. Stevens interrupted the conference. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Aquarian planetary government. They are begging for help. The hegemony commander has given them 6 more hours to surrender completely or face total destruction." Admiral Sullivan's jaw tightened. 6 hours. The reptiles were not even pretending to follow galactic law anymore. They were simply going to murder an entire civilization and dare anyone to stop them. "Change of plans," she announced to her fleet. "We are increasing to maximum quantum displacement speed. Arrival time is now 4 hours." The Washington shuddered slightly as the engines pushed reality to its limits. Outside the windows, stars became streaks of light as the ship moved through. Dimensions that had no names in any alien language. An hour later, long-range sensors began picking up detailed information from the target system. The news was worse than expected. The hegemony had not just surrounded the planet. They had also destroyed 3 more refugee ships trying to escape, killing thousands more civilians. "The reptile commander is named General Thekmore," Dr. Stevens reported. "Our intelligence files show he has destroyed 17 civilizations in the past decade. He likes to make examples of anyone who resists." Admiral Sullivan studied the enemy commander's file on her personal screen. Thekmore was old even by Saran standards, covered in scars from countless battles. He had started his career fighting other reptile clans, then expanded to conquering alien worlds when his own species ran out of enemies to fight. "He has never faced humans before," she observed. "No one has," Commander Jackson replied. "Not the real humans anyway." 3 hours. Before the attack, Admiral Sullivan addressed the entire fleet over the internal communication system. Every human ship received her message simultaneously, thanks to quantum entanglement networks that alien science considered impossible. "Officers and crew of the Pacific Fleet," she began. "Today we end 30 years of pretending to be weak. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity really is. The aliens rejected us because they thought we were children playing with toys. They are about to learn that human children can be very dangerous when someone threatens innocent people. She paused, looking out at stars that had watched civilizations rise and fall for billions of years. Soon those same stars would witness something new, the moment when humanity stopped hiding its true nature. "We are not here to conquer or to seek revenge," she continued. "We are here to protect those who cannot protect themselves. We are here to show the galaxy that some lines cannot be crossed without consequences. The hegemony chose to commit genocide. We choose to stop them." The final hour passed quickly. As the human fleet approached the edge of the Kepler system, their sensors picked up communications from the reptile ships. General Thekmore was giving final orders to his commanders, preparing for what he expected to be an easy slaughter. "All Tau ships prepare for quantum emergence," Admiral Sullivan ordered. "Stealth systems to maximum, weapons systems online. Remember, we want to disable their ships if possible, but the safety of the Aquarian civilians comes first." The Washington dropped out of quantum displacement space at the edge of the system, followed by the rest of the human fleet. For a moment, they hung in empty space like sleeping predators. The hegemony sensors showed nothing unusual. As far as the reptiles knew, they were still alone with their helpless victims. Admiral Sullivan opened a communication channel that would reach every ship in the system, both enemy and friendly. When she spoke, her voice was calm and professional, but it carried the authority of someone who had just traveled across the galaxy to deliver justice. "General Thekmore, this is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Human Pacific Fleet. You are ordered to withdraw your forces from this system immediately and release all Aquarian civilians. You have 5 minutes to comply." The silence that followed was almost funny. Admiral Sullivan could imagine the confusion on the reptile ships as their crews tried to figure out where the transmission was coming from. Their sensors still showed empty space around them. Then General Thekmore's voice crackled over the communication system, filled with arrogance and contempt. "Human ship, wherever you are hiding, you are making a mistake. This system is under hegemony control. Leave now, or be destroyed." Admiral Sullivan smiled coldly. "General, you are the one making a mistake, but do not worry. We are about to fix it for you." She gave the order that changed everything. "All ships, disengage stealth systems. Show them what they are dealing with." 47 human warships suddenly appeared around the hegemony fleet like avenging angels materializing from heaven. The Washington took position directly above General Thekmore's flagship, close enough that the reptile crew could see the strange symbols and weapon ports covering the human ship's hull. For the first time in galactic history, someone had surprised the hegemony completely. General Thekmore stared at the screens on his flagship's bridge and could not believe what he was seeing. A moment ago, his sensors had shown empty space around his fleet. Now, 47 unknown ships surrounded him like hunters closing in on prey. The reptile general was old and experienced. He had fought in hundreds of battles across the galaxy, but he had never seen ships that could appear from nowhere like ghosts becoming solid. His tactical officer, a younger Sauron named Kextal, was frantically trying to get sensor readings on the mysterious vessels. "Sir, I cannot identify their ship types," Kextal reported, his voice shaking. "The hull designs do not match anything in our databases. Their energy signatures are completely unknown." General Thekmore studied the largest human ship hanging directly above his dreadnought. It was sleek and angular, with surfaces that seemed to bend light in strange ways. Weapons. Ports glowed with an eerie blue energy he had never seen before. "How many ships?" he demanded. 47 confirmed, sir. They appeared simultaneously at multiple points around our formation. Our sensors never detected their approach." The general's scaled face twisted with anger and confusion. In 30 years of conquest, no enemy had ever surprised him like this. The hegemony's strength came from superior numbers and firepower. Their enemies were always smaller and weaker, easy to crush with overwhelming force. "What species are they?" he asked. "The transmission said they were human, sir, but that is impossible. Humans only have a few small exploration ships. They are weak and primitive." General Thekmore had heard of humans but never paid attention to them. They were newcomers to galactic civilization, barely worth noticing. The idea that they could field a fleet capable of challenging the hegemony seemed like a bad joke. On the bridge of the HMS Washington, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the reptile ships through her tactical displays. She could see their confusion and fear as they tried to understand what was happening. For decades, the hegemony had terrorized smaller civilizations. Now they were the ones feeling afraid. "Admiral, we are detecting weapons charging on several enemy ships," Commander Ben Jackson reported. "It looks like they planned to fight." Admiral Sullivan was not surprised. Bullies like General Thekmore only understood violence. They had spent so long being the strongest that they could not imagine backing down from anyone. "All ships, defensive. Positions," she ordered. "Let them make the first move. I want the galaxy to see clearly who started this fight." Captain Eric Thompson's voice came over the communication system from the destroyer Independence. "Admiral, should we try to contact the Aquarian government? Let them know help has arrived?" "Do it," Admiral Sullivan replied. "Tell them to keep their people in shelters. This might get messy." Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez opened a channel to the planet below. Within minutes, she had reached the Aquarian Planetary Council. The fish-like beings were crying with relief when they heard that someone had come to save them. "Thank you," their leader said in the gurgling voice of his species. "We thought we would all die today. The reptiles told us they would test their new weapons on our children first." Admiral Sullivan felt her anger grow even hotter. Using children as test subjects was evil beyond description. She was done being patient with monsters like General Thekmore. The first shot came from a hegemony cruiser on the edge of the formation. A bright red plasma bolt streaked toward the human frigate Shadow. Captain Peter Adams watched calmly as the energy beam approached his ship. "Adaptive shields engaged," his weapons officer reported. Instead of hitting solid armor or an energy barrier, the plasma bolt struck something that seemed to learn from the attack. The human shield absorbed the energy, analyzed its frequency and power level, then began generating a perfect counterfield. The hegemony crew watched in shock as their most powerful weapon simply disappeared into nothingness. Their sensors showed the human ship was completely undamaged. "Impossible," General Thekmore whispered. "Nothing can stop hegemony plasma cannons." More reptile ships opened fire, sending dozens of energy beams and missiles toward the human fleet. The space around Kepler 442b lit up with explosions and weapon discharges. But when the light faded, every human ship was still there, untouched and unharmed. Admiral Sullivan had seen enough. "All ships return fire. Show them what human weapons can do." The Washington's main gun was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of firing energy or solid projectiles, it reached out with invisible forces and grabbed hold of reality itself. Lieutenant Amy Foster, the ship's weapons officer, targeted the nearest hegemony destroyer and activated the gravity manipulation system. The enemy ship suddenly found itself caught in a localized gravity field that was crushing it from all directions. Its thick armor plates began to buckle and crack as forces beyond imagination squeezed the vessel like a giant fist. Within seconds, the destroyer's hull gave way completely, and the ship collapsed into a twisted ball of metal. The hegemony crews watched in horror as one of their warships was destroyed without any visible weapon hitting it. Their computers could not even detect what kind of attack had been used. Captain Thompson's Independence demonstrated a different type of human technology. His ship fired what looked like ordinary missiles, but these projectiles behaved in ways that made alien physicists cry. The missiles seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, passing through hegemony shields as if they were not there at all. When the missiles reached their target, they did not explode. Instead, they released swarms of microscopic machines that began taking apart the enemy ship at the molecular level. The reptile crew could only watch helplessly as their vessel dissolved around them like ice in hot water. "Abandon ship," the hegemony captain screamed, but it was already too late. The human nanomachines worked faster than any escape pod could launch. General Thekmore realized he was facing an enemy completely beyond his understanding. Human weapons did not just destroy ships, They manipulated the basic forces of the universe in ways that seemed like magic. "All ships ramming speed," he ordered desperately. "If we cannot shoot them, we will crash into them." His flagship accelerated toward the Washington, its engines glowing white-hot with overload. The massive dreadnought had enough mass to crush any normal vessel, and General Thekmore was willing to die if he could take some humans with him. Admiral Sullivan watched the enemy ship approach and felt almost sorry for the reptile general. He was trying to use the same brutal tactics that had worked against every other species. He had no idea that humans had left such primitive methods far behind. "Commander Jackson, prepare for phase displacement," she ordered calmly. "Phase displacement. Ready, Admiral." The Washington seemed to flicker like a candle in the wind. For a moment it became translucent, as if it was not quite real anymore. General Thekmore's flagship passed through the space where the human ship had been. But there was nothing there to hit. The Washington had stepped sideways into a different dimension, allowing the dreadnought to pass harmlessly through empty space. As soon as the reptile ship had passed, the Washington shifted back into normal reality, appearing behind the dreadnought, like a predator stalking wounded prey. The battle continued for another hour, but the outcome was never in doubt. Human ships moved through space like dancers, appearing and disappearing at will. Their weapons reached across impossible distances to strike with perfect accuracy. Their shields adapted to every attack, becoming stronger each time they were tested. One by one, hegemony ships were disabled or destroyed. Some crews surrendered when they realized their situation was hopeless. Others fought to the end, unable to accept that their mighty fleet had been defeated by a species they had never taken seriously. General Thekmore's flagship was the last enemy vessel still fighting. Its weapons were gone, its shields were down, and half its crew was dead or wounded. The old reptile general sat in his command chair and stared at the human ship surrounding him. "This is Admiral Sullivan," came the calm voice over his communication system. "General Thekmore, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Your fleet is defeated." The reptile general looked around his ruined bridge and knew she was right. In all his years of conquest, he had never imagined that defeat could come so quickly and completely. "What are you?" he asked quietly. "We are what happens when you push peaceful people too far," Admiral Sullivan replied. "We are what you get when you threaten innocent children. We are humanity, and we are done pretending to be weak." General Thekmore closed his eyes and activated his ship's surrender beacon. The age of hegemony terror was over. The age of human justice had begun. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in its 1,000-year history. Representatives from every major species crowded into the great chamber aboard the Nexus station. The air buzzed with nervous energy and fearful whispers, in dozens of alien languages. High Chancellor Vextar's crystalline form flickered with agitation as he tried to bring order to the chaos. The news from the Kepler system had spread across the galaxy in hours. Videos of the battle showed human ships performing impossible maneuvers and using weapons that alien science could not explain. In the visitors' gallery, Captain Jake Morrison watched the proceedings with quiet satisfaction. 6 months ago, he had sat in this same chair and witnessed humanity's rejection. Today, he was here as an honored observer, while the galaxy's leaders scrambled to understand what had just happened. "Ambassador," Lisa Grant entered the chamber with confident steps, no longer the supplicant seeking membership. Behind her walked Admiral Kate Sullivan, still wearing her military uniform with its unknown insignia and strange technology devices. Dr. Angela Torres completed the human delegation, her scientific equipment already recording everything for a later analysis. The chamber fell silent as Ambassador Grant approached the speaker's platform. She did not request permission to speak. She simply walked to the center of the room and waited for attention. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. "I come before you today, not to ask for anything, but to inform you of certain facts that require your attention." High Chancellor Vextar's voice cracked like breaking ice. "Ambassador Grant, we demand an explanation for humanity's actions in the Kepler system." Your species attacked a legitimate military operation without council authorization. Ambassador Grant smiled coldly. Legitimate military operation? Is that what you call the planned genocide of 3 million Aquarian civilians? The execution of children to test new weapons? The Clickstar representative clicked his mandibles angrily. The hegemony was enforcing their territorial claims. The Aquarians were given opportunities to surrender. The Aquarians were given opportunities to die. Admiral Sullivan interrupted, stepping forward. General Thekmore planned to use antimatter weapons on refugee camps. We have recordings of his communications ordering the murder of families. She gestured to Dr. Torres, who activated a holographic projector. The air above the chamber filled with images from the battle. Alien representatives gasped as they saw human ships appearing from nowhere, weapons that bent the laws of physics, and technologies that their best scientists had declared impossible. This is how humanity chose to introduce itself to galactic politics. Admiral Sullivan continued. By stopping a massacre that your council spent 3 weeks debating, the Void Singers began a low, mournful melody that expressed their confusion and fear. The Silicon Lords flashed warning patterns across their metallic bodies. Even the peaceful, botanical collective rustled their leaves nervously as they tried to process what they were seeing. High Chancellor Vextar tried to regain control of the situation. These technologies violate known physical laws. How did humanity develop such capabilities? Dr. Torres stepped forward, adjusting her glasses as she prepared to explain 30 years of secret research. While your species focused on copying and improving existing technologies, humanity took a different approach. We studied the fundamental forces of reality itself. She activated another hologram showing complex mathematical equations that made several alien scientists gasp in recognition. You built bigger plasma cannons. We learned to manipulate gravity. You strengthened your armor. We developed shields that exist in multiple dimensions. You improved your sensors. We created stealth systems that bend space-time itself. The chamber erupted in dozens of conversations as representatives tried to understand the implications. If humans could do these things, what else were they capable of? How long had they been hiding such power? Ambassador Grant raised her hand for silence. There is more you need to know. Another hologram appeared showing a star map of the galaxy. Red dots began appearing throughout known space, hundreds of them, then thousands. Each dot represented a human outpost, monitoring station, or hidden base. For 30 years, while you saw us as primitive newcomers, human scouts have been mapping every system, every trade route, every military installation in the galaxy, Ambassador Grant explained. We know the location of every alien homeworld, every fleet base, every secret research facility. The implication hit the chamber like a physical blow. Humanity had not just developed advanced weapons, they had been conducting the largest intelligence operation in galactic history, right under everyone's noses. The Aquarian representative, a fish-like being whose people had just been saved from extinction, spoke up with a trembling voice. Why did you hide this from us? Why pretend to be weak? Admiral Sullivan answered with military directness. Because we wanted to learn about you first. We needed to understand who could be trusted and who could not. The Kepler system gave us our answer. High Chancellor Vextar's crystalline body was now flickering rapidly with what humans had learned was a sign of extreme stress. What does humanity want from the Council? Nothing, Ambassador Grant replied simply. We no longer require your permission or approval for anything. However, we are prepared to offer you a choice. The chamber waited in tense silence as she continued. Option 1. Continue as you have been. Debate endlessly while innocent people die. Ignore genocide because it is politically inconvenient. Allow bullies like the hegemony to terrorize smaller civilizations while you write strongly worded statements. Her voice grew harder. If you choose this path, humanity will handle galactic security ourselves. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. We will stop aggressors wherever we find them, and we will not ask for your permission or input. Several alien representatives began protesting loudly, but Ambassador Grant continued without pause. Option 2. Accept that the galaxy has changed. Admit that your old methods of leadership have failed. Work with humanity to create a better system that actually protects innocent lives instead of protecting political interests. The Clickstar representative clicked angrily. You cannot simply impose your will on the entire galaxy. There are laws, procedures, established protocols. Admiral Sullivan laughed, a sound that somehow carried throughout the massive chamber. Your laws did not save the Aquarians. Your procedures did not stop the hegemony. Your protocols allowed genocide to be planned while you debated committee assignments. Dr. Torres activated one final hologram. This one showed Earth's solar system, but not as the aliens remembered it. Massive shipyards orbited the outer planets. Construction facilities stretched across the asteroid belt. Defensive platforms surrounded every human colony. This is what humanity has been building while you thought we were struggling with basic spaceflight, she explained. We have 47 fleets like the one that defeated the hegemony. We have technologies that make your most advanced weapons look like stone tools. We have the capability to end any threat to galactic peace in a matter of days. The chamber fell into stunned silence as the implications became clear. Humanity was not asking to join the galactic community as junior partners. They were announcing their arrival as the new dominant power. High Chancellor Vextar finally found his voice. What you are describing sounds like conquest, like empire building. Ambassador Grant shook her head. We have no interest in ruling anyone. We have no desire to collect tribute or demand submission. We simply want to live in a galaxy where children are not murdered to test weapons, where peaceful civilizations are not destroyed for sport, where justice actually exists. She paused, looking around the chamber at faces that represented hundreds of different species. 6 months ago, you rejected humanity's application for membership because you thought we were too weak, too young, too primitive to contribute meaningfully to galactic civilization. Her voice carried clearly to every corner of the vast room. Today, we withdraw that application. We no longer seek membership in an organization that values procedure over lives, politics over justice, and comfort over courage. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives began shouting questions and demands, but Ambassador Grant was already walking toward the exit, followed by Admiral Sullivan and Dr. Torres. At the chamber doors, she turned back one final time. The galaxy overlooked humanity's power because we chose to let you. That choice was a courtesy. Next time it might be different. As the human delegation left the chamber, High Chancellor Vextar called for an emergency vote. Within an hour, the Galactic Council had unanimously passed a resolution offering humanity not just membership, but permanent seats on the executive committee and full authority to handle galactic security matters. But the chamber was empty. The humans were already gone, returning to their ships and their hidden bases throughout the galaxy. They had work to do, civilizations to protect and a new age of galactic peace to build. Captain Jake Morrison smiled as he watched Earth grow larger in the view screen of his transport ship. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human leadership had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.